If I'd walked in 5 minutes later, I might have missed it. And maybe that would have been easier. Maybe then I'd still be the guy who believed his wife just needed a night out to recharge. But that's not what happened. I walked in, and now there's a video on my phone I can't unsee. And I revisit it more than I care to admit. Like some sick proof that I'm not crazy, that it really happened. But let me back up a bit. Before all this, life was stable. Predictable in that comfortable, married kind of way. We'd been together 12 years. Married 10. 2 kids. A dog that sheds like it's trying to clone itself. Mortgage, minivan, Sunday night meal prep. All the cliches. And honestly, I was fine with it. There was a rhythm to our life, like an old song you don't really dance to anymore, but you still hum out of habit. She was a good mom. I'll never take that away from her. The kind that packs lunches with notes inside and remembers Teacher Appreciation Week without needing a calendar alert. I tried to be a decent husband, worked hard, handled the yard, fixed things when they broke, even if it took me 3 YouTube videos and a prayer. We weren't fireworks, but we were steady. Or so I thought. We met in college. She worked at the campus bookstore. I cracked a joke about overpriced textbooks and somehow landed a date. We weren't that couple who posted everything online or called each other best friend in captions. We just worked. She grounded me. I made her laugh. That was the deal. I remember thinking once, during a late-night grocery run after the kids finally fell asleep, this is it. This is the good part. It's not glamorous, but it's ours. And maybe that's why the fall hurt so bad. Because I really thought we were solid. It started with something simple. I told her she should take a night for herself. That was my idea. My big romantic gesture. I figured she deserved a break from the chaos, the clingy toddlers, the routines. She hadn't had a night to herself in months. I even threw in a wink and said I'd handle bedtime, laundry, the whole deal. Like I was winning husband of the year. She hesitated for a second, just a flicker, but then smiled and said she might grab drinks with a friend. Nothing big, she said. Just dinner and catching up. I didn't think twice. I stayed home, wrestled the kids into pajamas, watched some dumb superhero movie on mute while folding tiny socks, and honestly felt pretty good about myself. Around 10:45, I got a little curious. Not worried. Just curious. I checked her location on the family app. Still at the restaurant downtown. All good. By midnight, she wasn't home. Still no red flags. She texted me around 11 that things ran long. I didn't even reply. Figured she was enjoying herself and didn't want to be that guy blowing up her phone. I went to bed around 12:30. Slept light. At 2:17 a.m., I woke up, not sure why. House was quiet. I checked my phone. Nothing. That's when I heard the front door open. Her footsteps were careful. Not drunk, just cautious. She slipped into bed like she didn't want to wake me. I laid there, eyes open, pretending to sleep. That was the first time I felt it. The thing that would become a storm. A weird weight in my chest. Like my gut already knew what my heart couldn't accept. But I said nothing. Just laid there and listened to her breathe. You ever have that moment where something just feels off, but you can't put your finger on it? That was me the next morning. She acted normal. A little too normal, if that makes sense. Made pancakes. Asked if I wanted coffee. Smiled like she'd had the best sleep of her life. I watched her move around the kitchen, all casual, and something in me just tightened. I told myself I was being paranoid. That maybe I was just tired or jealous she got a night off while I got glitter glue in my hair from an art project gone sideways. But that nagging feeling? It stuck around, like a pebble in my shoe. Small enough to ignore, but always there. I tried to reason with myself. She's never given me a real reason not to trust her. She's a mom, not some bar-hopping 20-something. And I'm not the jealous type. Never have been. I'm the guy who holds the purses outside dressing rooms and makes dad jokes at family BBQs. Still, I noticed things. She started taking longer showers. Phone never left her side. She laughed at texts I couldn't see. She changed her passwords. Privacy, she said. One night, I reached for her phone to check the time, and she practically teleported across the room to grab it. Said she needed to respond to a work message. At 11:30 p.m. That was when I knew. I didn't have proof. No names, no receipts, nothing concrete. Just this growing pit in my stomach and a new, unwelcome silence between us. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed to be sure. And part of me still wanted to be wrong. I'm not proud of it, but I started snooping. Quietly. Carefully. Like I was defusing a bomb that might blow up my whole life. First it was small things. checking the laundry for anything unusual, watching how quickly she flipped her phone screen when I walked by, noticing new clothes, not a lot, but different from her usual style. Tighter, shorter, stuff she wouldn't wear to dinner with her mom. Let's just say that. She said she was going to yoga more often. Cool. Except I noticed her mat never left the closet. I started checking timestamps on photos she posted. If she was out with friends, where were the selfies? The group shots? Nothing. Just quiet disappearances that didn't leave a trail. Then one night, I found it. A receipt in her jacket pocket. One she clearly forgot to throw out. 2 cocktails. 1 appetizer. 1 entree. A single dessert with 2 spoons. From a place downtown we've never been to together. I remember just staring at it, reading it over and over like it might suddenly change into something innocent. But it didn't. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid there with that little slip of paper burning a hole in my brain. I didn't ask her about it. What was I gonna say? Hey, are you emotionally checked out and sneaking around with someone who probably wears cologne that smells like insecurity? Nah, I needed more. So I gave her something even better than permission. I gave her freedom. Told her she should go out again soon. Another night off. And when she did, that's when everything broke. She said she needed another night to decompress. Long week, she claimed. I smiled, told her she deserved it, even slipped a 50 into her purse so she could treat herself. She kissed my cheek and left wearing perfume I hadn't smelled in a year. The second the door clicked shut, I was in motion. I'd already prepped the spare phone, an old one from a junk drawer. Charged, silent, and with just enough storage. I drove to the downtown spot she'd been before, the same place from the receipt. Parked where I had a clear view of the valet stand. It took less than 20 minutes. She pulled up, stepped out, and smoothed her dress. Not the mom who needs a break outfit she claimed. More like the kind of dress you wear when you know someone's going to take it off later. And then he showed up. Some guy, mid-30s maybe, decent suit, the kind of smug face you just want to slap on instinct. He kissed her cheek. She laughed. They walked in like they'd done this a dozen times before. I didn't chase. I didn't confront. I waited. An hour and 40 minutes later, they came back out, laughing, her hand on his chest, his on her waist. They didn't drive off separately. They got into the same car. I tailed them, heart thudding like I just run a marathon. They pulled into a small rental, not even a hotel. One of those short-term places people use for privacy. The kind you can book by the hour or night, no questions asked. I parked across the street, lights off, waiting for the curtain to move. It did. There they were. Together. Close. Too close. I filmed everything I could. It wasn't explicit, nothing you'd get banned for on the internet, but it was damning. Enough. Her arms around his neck. The way she looked at him. The smile I hadn't seen in months, the one I thought she'd lost. Turns out she just moved it to someone else. I watched until the lights went out. Then I went home. Sat at the edge of our bed in the dark, holding a phone with video proof of everything I never wanted to be true. She came back around 2 a.m. again. Same routine. Quiet steps, soft breath, pretending like everything was normal. And I pretended too. Smiled the next morning. Made coffee. Kissed her forehead. Never said a word. But the video? It stayed in my pocket. And I watched it. Over and over. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed to believe it actually happened. Because without it, I might have talked myself into forgiveness. I might have blamed myself. Maybe I worked too much. Maybe I wasn't present enough. Maybe she felt lonely. But then I'd watch her press herself into another man's arms and all that self-blame would burn away. No, this wasn't on me. It was her choice. And I wasn't going to play the fool. They say silence is peaceful. Whoever said that never lived in a house built on lies. After that night, everything felt fake. Her voice. Her laugh. The way she asked how my day was. I played along like nothing had changed, but in my head, everything was burning. The worst part? She acted happier. Like something inside her had been refilled. Suddenly, she was humming while doing dishes, cracking jokes during breakfast, even trying to initiate affection again. And I let her. Just to see how deep the lie went. She kissed me with the same mouth she kissed him with. I didn't flinch. Didn't pull away. I just watched her like a stranger in my own home. I became hyper-aware of everything. Her phone habits. Her schedule. I noticed when she said she had errands but came back with nothing in the bags. Not even a receipt. I started noting the times she went for a walk and how her location conveniently glitched during those hours. Always right before dinner. Always returning flushed and just a little tired. I checked her phone when she showered. She was careful, locked it, wiped messages, even deleted app histories. But no one's perfect. I found a ride-share receipt she forgot to delete. It matched the timestamp from one of her walks, not even 5 blocks away from the same rental spot. She never suspected a thing. She thought she was clever. I thought I was going insane. I kept watching the video I filmed. Not every day, but more than I care to admit. Sometimes just a few seconds. Sometimes the whole thing. I told myself it was just to remind me not to fall for her act. But really, it was my proof. My ugly little secret. My last grip on reality. Some nights, I'd stare at her while she slept, peaceful, curled up on my side of the bed like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't burned the bridge between us and danced across the ashes. And still, I didn't confront her. I don't even know why anymore. Maybe I was scared of what would come next. The chaos. The lawyers. Splitting holidays. The look on my kids' faces when they realized their mother wasn't who they thought she was. Or maybe I just wanted her to slip up. To say something, anything, that would make it easier to finally pull the trigger. I started checking for his stuff. Little signs that he'd been in my house. And sure enough, one night I found it. A pair of sunglasses. Left in the guest bathroom. I'd never seen them before. They weren't mine. They weren't hers. I held them for a long time. Just staring. Turning them over in my hand like some strange artifact from another universe. They didn't belong here. Just like he didn't belong in my life. That night, I slid the glasses into my dresser drawer. Right next to the phone with the video. Evidence. And then, I made her breakfast. Like nothing had ever happened. After I found the sunglasses, something in me shifted. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was studying her. Like she was some unpredictable animal I had to live with, knowing at any moment she might bite. I watched how she moved, when she checked her phone, who she mentioned, what she didn't. Every casual word was a potential clue. Every sigh felt like a code waiting to be cracked. I started playing little games. Harmless ones, at least to her. I asked about her nights out. Where she went, who she saw. I already knew the answers, but I wanted to hear the lies roll off her tongue. I wanted to watch her fake a memory she hadn't earned. And she did. Effortlessly. Oh, we just grabbed drinks. Nothing exciting. You know how girls are. You'd be bored out of your mind. I smiled. Nodded. Played dumb. Meanwhile, the video on my phone was one swipe away, and the sunglasses she swore she'd never seen before were still in my drawer, waiting for their moment in the spotlight. I started mentioning things from her fake alibis. People she never actually saw. Restaurants she never went to. I wanted to see if she'd correct me. She didn't. She agreed. She nodded. Even added details. That was when it hit me. She wasn't just lying to me, she was lying to herself too. There was no guilt. No hesitation. She had fully built a second life and was now performing both roles like a pro, doting wife by day, secret lover by night. Probably thought she had it all under control. She probably believed she was juggling it all without dropping a thing. But I was the one holding the pins. And I was getting tired of the show. I thought about confronting her every day. I'd picture it in my head, throwing the video on the TV, tossing the sunglasses on the table like a mic drop. But then what? She'd cry. Deny. Maybe apologize, maybe not. And then it would all break open. Lawyers. Custody. Friends choosing sides. Parents judging silently. And the kids. God, the kids. I didn't want them to grow up in 2 houses. I didn't want to be the guy who only saw them on weekends and texted, "I miss you," from a quiet apartment full of IKEA furniture and takeout containers. I didn't want to explain to them why their mom was hugging someone else when she thought no one was watching. So I did what I always did. Nothing. I waited. I watched. I smiled. And inside, I started rotting. I stopped sleeping. Not on purpose. It just kind of stopped happening. I'd lie there at night, staring at the ceiling, the fan spinning above me like some hypnotic reminder of how stuck I was. She'd be next to me, passed out, peaceful, and I'd be wired, wide-eyed, wondering how she managed to sleep so soundly while living a double life. I started scrolling through the video again. Just little snippets. Her hand on his chest. The way she looked at him when she thought no one was watching. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for anymore. Clarity? Confirmation? Some hint that she regretted it? But all I saw was someone who wasn't mine anymore. It messed with my head. I'd go to work exhausted, snapping at people for no reason. Forgot my lunch 3 days in a row. One afternoon, I left my car running in the parking lot and didn't even realize until a coworker walked in holding my keys. laughing like I was the punchline in some joke I didn't know I was part of. At home, I started zoning out. She'd talk, and I'd just nod, pretending to listen. Half the time, I didn't even register what she said. My brain was too busy replaying everything, her body language, the timeline, every lie she'd fed me. I wasn't looking for forgiveness anymore. I was looking for answers. But she wasn't giving any. And I wasn't asking. We were two actors stuck in the same scene, hitting our marks, saying our lines, pretending the stage wasn't on fire. I started pulling away in small ways. Stopped texting her during the day. Didn't compliment her new hair. Forgot our anniversary on purpose. Just to see if she'd say anything. She didn't. She was too busy with her new book club or whatever fake thing she was using now to buy herself time. Once, she claimed she was at Target and sent a picture of throw pillows in a cart. I looked at the photo for 10 minutes. Something felt off. Then I spotted it. The reflection in the chrome on the cart. A man's silhouette. Not me. Definitely not Target. I saved the photo, added it to the folder. You know, the one with the video, the text I pulled from her iPad, the screenshots of her social media activity when she thought I wasn't looking. It was a digital graveyard of our marriage. Proof that I hadn't imagined any of it. That this wasn't paranoia. This was betrayal with a Wi-Fi signal and a good memory. I told myself I'd confront her eventually. That there'd be a right time. But the truth is, I didn't know what I wanted anymore. Revenge? Closure? Some moment where she begged and cried and made me feel like I still mattered? The problem is, when someone betrays you like that, it's not just your relationship that dies. It's the version of yourself that believed in them. That guy? He's gone. And I don't know who took his place, but he stares at himself in the mirror now like he doesn't recognize the face looking back. I started living in hypotheticals. What if I just left? Packed a bag, walked out the front door, didn't say a word. Let her come home to an empty house and a missing husband. Let her explain that to the kids. Let her stare at the dinner table wondering where the man who built her whole life had gone. Or what if I confronted her, but calmly? Showed her the video. Dropped the sunglasses on the table. Sat across from her and asked one question. Why? But that's the thing. I knew she wouldn't have an answer. Not one that made sense. Not one that fixed anything. You don't destroy a life over a mistake. You destroy it because you wanted something else, something more. And the person you made vows to just wasn't it anymore. She wouldn't cry, I don't think. Not real tears. She'd maybe fake the guilt, turn it around, tell me I wasn't there emotionally or things felt off, or the usual playlist people use to justify cheating. But I've done the math, and the math doesn't lie. She didn't fall into this. She chose it, over and over. Still, I found myself wondering, could I forgive her? If she begged, if she confessed, if she cut him off and tried to patch up what was left, could I? The honest answer? I don't know. Because even if she apologized, even if she cried and said it was the biggest mistake of her life, I'd still remember the way she smiled with him. The way she lied so smoothly. The way she came home to my bed after sharing someone else's. Forgiveness is a nice word. Sounds noble. Mature. But the truth is, I don't have that in me. Not for this. I started having these little daydreams. Nothing crazy. Just flashes of what life could be like if I burned it all down and started over. A small apartment. No shared closet. No constant reminders. Peace. And maybe someday, someone who looked at me like I was enough. It was a fantasy, sure. But it started creeping into my thoughts more often. At red lights. In the shower. During work meetings I barely heard. Not revenge. Not rage. Just escape. Maybe that was the only power I had left. The power to walk away on my terms. And yet I still stayed. Day after day. Smile after smile. Playing the role of the husband she used to love, while she kept sneaking off to love someone else. She had no idea I knew. No clue that every sweet word she said, every laugh, every hug was bouncing off a wall I had already built around myself. It wasn't love anymore. It was survival. There's always a moment. A line you cross that you can't come back from. For me, it happened on a Tuesday. Regular day. I'd come home early. A job got canceled last minute. I didn't tell her. Figured I'd surprise her. Maybe we could cook together, like we used to. Maybe, and this was a stretch, we could have one normal night. That's not what happened. I walked in through the garage, quiet. Didn't mean to sneak. I just didn't announce myself. You'd think in your own home, you wouldn't have to. But I guess trust changes the rules. I heard her voice before I saw her. Light, flirty, soft in a way I hadn't heard in months. She was on the phone. Not in the living room. Not in the kitchen. She was in the bedroom. Our bedroom. Door cracked open, and there she was, sitting on the edge of the bed, feet tucked under her like she was 16 again, giggling into the phone. She didn't hear me, didn't know I was home, and I didn't say anything. Just stood there, a few feet away, watching the back of the woman I married flirt with a voice that wasn't mine. And that's when I heard it. She called him baby. That word hit me like a gut punch. Not because of the word itself, but because of how easily it came out. Natural. Comfortable. Like she'd said it 100 times before. Probably had. I walked out before she saw me. Quiet as I came in. Got in my truck. Drove nowhere for an hour. Just looped around the city with the radio off and the air turned cold. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't even think. I just sat in the silence with that word echoing in my skull. Baby. A word I used to own. A word tied to memories, to Sunday mornings, to inside jokes. And now it was just another thing she gave away like it meant nothing. When I got back home, she was in the kitchen. She smiled like everything was fine. Asked me how work went. I lied. Said it was good. She nodded, kissed my cheek, and went back to stirring pasta like she hadn't just handed my dignity to someone else. That was the moment. The line. I couldn't unsee it. Couldn't unhear it. Couldn't pretend anymore. She wasn't just slipping away, she was already gone. And the only reason she was still here was because I hadn't told her to leave. I slept in the guest room that night. Told her I had a cold. She didn't question it. Didn't follow me. Didn't ask. And somehow, that made it worse. The guest room became my new normal. She didn't say a word about it. Just left an extra blanket folded on the bed like I was some visitor who'd overstayed his welcome. Not a single question. Not even fake concern. I started moving more of my stuff in there. My clothes. My charger. Even my watch. Little by little, I peeled myself out of the life we used to share. And still, silence. She played her part during the day, smiled when the kids were around, laughed at dinner, sent heart emojis in our group chat. But when the house was quiet, we lived like strangers under the same roof. Roommates with too much history and not enough honesty. I stopped watching the video. Not because it didn't matter anymore, it mattered too much. But I didn't need it. I knew. Every time she touched her phone and smiled. Every time she got invited out and came back with a new excuse. I didn't need proof. I had instinct. And instinct was screaming. One night, I stayed up late, sitting in the backyard. Just me, the dark, and a drink I didn't even want. I thought about what I was doing. What I was letting continue. The lies. The pretending. The weight of knowing and saying nothing. It was turning me into someone I didn't recognize. I used to be calm. Rational. I used to be the guy people came to when stuff went wrong, the fixer, the reliable one. Now, I couldn't even fix my own marriage. Couldn't fix my trust. Couldn't fix the way I flinched when she walked into the room. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't staying because of love. I was staying because of fear. Fear of the fallout. Of the kids asking questions. Of the looks from family and friends. Of the unknown that comes after everything you built turns into rubble. But fear wasn't enough anymore. Not with how far gone things were. She came out back that night. Sat in the chair across from me. Didn't say anything for a while. Then casually mentioned how she might take another weekend with the girls soon. I didn't even blink. Just stared at her and said, yeah, do what you need to do. Her face froze for a second. Just a flicker. Like she could feel the tone shift. Like maybe she realized I wasn't playing dumb anymore. She went back inside. I stayed out until the sun started creeping over the fence. Something was coming. I could feel it in my bones. And for once, I wasn't scared of it. Once you stop caring about the outcome, things get a lot clearer. I wasn't angry anymore. Not the kind that burns hot. It was colder now, slower, more precise. Like ice forming on glass. Quiet, but sharp enough to cut. She thought I was still oblivious, and I let her keep thinking that. I nodded when she talked about her friends, asked how her book club was going, even cracked a few fake smiles when she joked about needing girl time. Every lie she told just made my job easier. Because now, I was planning. Not revenge. Not really. Just truth. I started documenting everything. Not just the video that was old news at this point. I went through bank statements, matched receipts with her timeline, tracked mileage on the car, even snapped photos of the outfits she said she bought on sale. I wasn't trying to build a courtroom case. I was building clarity. For me. For when this all blew up. I dug up old photos, too. Of us. From back when she used to look at me like I mattered. I stared at those a lot longer than I should have. Part of me still wanted to believe that version of her was real, the one who used to run her fingers through my hair when I couldn't sleep, who used to whisper that she was proud of me when no one else said it. But that woman was gone. And the one still sleeping down the hall? She was just a ghost in a skin I used to love. One night, after the kids went to bed, I opened the drawer where I kept the sunglasses. I held them in my hand, turned them over again and again like they might start talking. They didn't. But just knowing he left something here in my house, in my space, it was enough to remind me why I couldn't stay quiet much longer. I made a copy of the video on a flash drive, put it in an envelope, labeled it with her name, sealed it. Not because I was going to use it that day, or even the next, but I needed it ready. For the day I decided this was over. For the moment she tried to spin a story. Because when the time came, I wanted to hand her something she couldn't lie her way out of. I started rehearsing in my head what I'd say. Not a big speech. Just a few sentences. Calm. Final. The kind of words that leave no room for interpretation. But every time I got close to doing it, I paused. Not because I had doubts, but because once you say it, once you pull that pin, the explosion starts. And nothing is the same after. I wasn't scared anymore. Just waiting. One crack in the mask. One wrong step. One final, stupid lie. And then I'd be done pretending. She said she was going out of town for a wellness retreat. Those were the exact words. A yoga thing with her old college roommate. A weekend to reset, disconnect, find her center. She even showed me a fake itinerary printed off some free word template online. Nice touch, really. If I hadn't already known what she was doing, I might have believed it. She left Friday morning. Small suitcase, that same perfume she thinks I don't recognize anymore, and a look in her that didn't match the lie coming out of her mouth. She kissed me on the cheek, lightly, and said she'd text when she got there. She never did, but I knew where she was. Because this time, I followed. Not in the same car. I wasn't looking for a movie-style confrontation or some dramatic shouting match in a hotel lobby. I just wanted truth. For myself. She wasn't in the mountains. She wasn't with her roommate. She was at a rental downtown again. Same building. Different unit. Same guy. I parked a block away. Walked the street like I was just a guy grabbing coffee. Then I saw them. Walking hand in hand. Laughing. Stopping to kiss like teenagers. He held the door for her. She leaned into him like they'd been doing this for years. I didn't film this time. Didn't need to. I just watched for a while, until it physically hurt to keep standing there. Then I walked back to my car, drove home, and pulled the envelope out of my drawer. That night, I made her favorite meal, cleaned the kitchen, put the kids to bed. Then I sat in the living room alone, holding the envelope like it weighed 50 pounds. She came back Sunday afternoon. Sun-kissed skin, loose sweater. That fake calm you wear after doing something you know would destroy a person if they found out. She smiled. I smiled back. I asked her how it went. She said it was amazing. Life-changing. That's when I knew. Without a shadow of doubt. She didn't just cheat on me. She thought I was stupid enough to never know. And that hurt worse than the cheating. It was the insult to my intelligence. The audacity. She kissed me goodnight that evening, soft and sweet. Like everything was fine. And when she turned away and drifted off, I stayed sitting in the dark, holding the envelope. Because tomorrow was going to be different. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. Didn't even raise my voice. I woke up before her, made coffee like usual, then sat at the table with the envelope. Just sat there, waiting. She shuffled in wearing my old hoodie, the one she stopped wearing months ago. Maybe some part of her knew. Maybe she felt it coming. That quiet before something snaps. She poured her coffee, gave me a sleepy smile, sat across from me, unaware the walls were already crumbling. I slid the envelope across the table without a word. She looked at it, tilted her head, confused. Opened it. First, the flash drive. Then the photos. Then the printed transcript of messages, the ones she thought she'd deleted for good. She didn't say anything. Just stared. And I stared right back. Still not a word between us. She opened her mouth once, closed it again. Then finally whispered, "How long have you known?" I shrugged. Sipped my coffee. Long enough. Silence. Her hands were shaking. I could see it in the way she touched the paper, the way she folded it back up like maybe closing it would undo what was already done. I stood up. She asked, "Are you leaving?" I said, "No." She blinked, confused. "I'm not leaving. You are." And I meant it. I had already changed the locks. Already moved her clothes into the spare room. Already had the documents drawn up, sitting in a folder with a lawyer's card clipped to the top. I'd spent weeks preparing for this moment. She hadn't. That was the difference between us. She reacted. I planned. She tried crying. I didn't flinch. She tried apologizing. I didn't respond. She tried blaming stress, loneliness, the usual nonsense. I didn't take the bait. Eventually, she just sat there, deflated, not out of remorse, but because she realized the game was over. I walked out the front door, not because I was leaving, but because I needed air. Sunlight. Space from the rot that had been growing inside that house for too long. She didn't follow me, and I didn't look back, because I was done listening to lies that sounded like love. She left 2 days later. No dramatic exit. No packed suitcases in the rain. Just silence. The kind that sinks into the walls and makes the house feel bigger than it really is. The kids stayed with me that week. I didn't tell them everything, just enough. That mom and dad needed time apart. That some things had changed, but we still loved them. It wasn't a lie. At least not the part about them. The weirdest part was how normal everything looked once she was gone. Her toothbrush still in the cup. Her slippers under the bed. The hoodie she wore that last morning, still draped over the chair. Like she'd be back in 5 minutes. But she wouldn't. And I didn't want her to. I thought I'd feel something massive when she left. Relief. Rage. Maybe sadness. But all I felt was tired. Like I'd been holding up a ceiling for too long and finally stepped out from under it. The weight was gone, but so was the purpose. I kept waiting for closure. For that big, cinematic moment where I'd scream into the void or break down in tears. Never happened. Just long stretches of quiet. I went to work. Cooked dinner. Folded laundry while the kids watched TV. Life kept moving, like it didn't care what had happened. Sometimes I still watch the video. Not to torture myself, not anymore. I watch it to remind myself that I didn't imagine it. That I didn't make up the gut feeling, the lies, the slow erosion of trust. It happened. I lived it. I survived it. Some nights, I sit in the backyard with a drink and wonder how we got here. How two people who once couldn't spend a day apart ended up orbiting different planets, pretending the gravity was still there. I think about what we used to be, the inside jokes, the road trips, the lazy Sunday mornings. And I grieve, in my own way. Quietly. With no audience. No drama. People ask me if I'll ever trust again. If I'll try dating. If I believe in marriage after everything. And honestly, I don't know. Some days, I think I will. Other days, I just want peace. A life where no one lies to my face while they slip out the back door. Where love isn't something I have to double check. But one thing I do know? I'll never be that blind again. Whatever comes next, I'll meet it with both eyes open.